welcome, everyone. I'm Carol Laurie, the host of her Health and Spirit podcast and upcoming summit. And today we're fortunate enough to have with us Dr. Razi Ann Berry. Dr. Berry is the host of the upcoming Heart Revolution and publisher of the award-winning journal Naturopathic Doctor News and Review, the International Journal of Naturopathic Medicine, and preventive health resource Naturopath. Her personal journey from illness to health was the catalyst to a career in the field of naturopathic medicine. She has spent the last decade educating people to live healthier, more purposeful lives through publications that bring together leaders in natural and preventive medicine, as well as empowering millions of people to embrace the philosophy that prevention is the best cure. Welcome, Razi.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this special event. I love what you're doing, and I'm really proud to be part of it.
Well, it's really wonderful to have you here. So I always love it when people say to me, well, if I eat healthy and I'm buying food and I have to cook it, it's going to be more expensive. Mm-hmm. And I always go over with them, so do you go to some local coffee shop every day and get a coffee and a muffin? And they go, oh, yes. And I said, how much does that cost? Oh, $12. So $12 times 5 is right. $70. Mm-hmm. It is 12 times 5? No, it is. Anyway, 12 times 5 is a lot of money. And if you add that up for the whole month, you're spending hundreds of dollars on food that isn't even really healthy for you and has no vital force. So I think part of being a naturopathic doctor is really educating the person you're working with. And I don't like to use the word patient because I think that is sort of demeaning, but the person that you're lucky enough to work with, and they're lucky to work with you, about how choices they make in their every daily perspective on life really impacts their health.
I agree. I really agree. I don't very often speak to people. I think sometimes they're called patients because they're spending so much time waiting and they have to be patient. in the convention, I swear when I was
too.
Right.
We need a lot of practice to get it right.
But I'm with you, and if I could too speak a little bit about what these principles of naturopathic medicine are.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they're important for the doctor, but I like to turn them around and make it the patient, for lack of a better word, perspective, how you can use these principles to really stay healthy, feel better naturally, and just live the life you want to live. And the first harm, I just love, because that really is supposed to be the Hippocratic Oath. We attribute that to Hippocrates, and it's supposed to be, you do the least invasive, least harmful thing to the person that has disease. But I think that it's something we need to do for ourselves, right? We have to pay attention, like when you wake up in the morning, what are the first things you're doing? Are you dousing yourself in chemicals and perfume that cause cancer, obesity, hormone disruption, or are you doing no harm? Are you choosing gentler options for yourself? And are you sitting in front of the blue screen of a computer all day, or are you getting up and going outside to get some sunshine and vitamin D? So first, do no harm is the way that we need to live, inside our own bodies, and also the environment that supports us. And the Tolle Totem, the idea of, treat the whole person, reminds us to live holistically. We aren't just, body parts. We are, whole people with minds and emotions. Now we're learning more about the intelligence of our heart, the power of intuition, and how the heart actually sends information to our brain. So we can't just look at just our ovaries during menopause. We can't look at
fertility, right?
Yes, or fertility. Yes, we can't look at just our heads if we're having migraines. So I really love that one. And then Tolle Causam, identify the cause and remove the obstacle to cure. This is one of my favorite paradigms of naturopathy. Remove the obstacle to cure. What is getting in the way? Is it a mindset? Is it a relationship? Is there forgiveness that needs to happen somewhere in your life? Or is it just a habit that you need to master? And then docere, to teach, is how, the doctor's job is to be a teacher. But really, for me, that means that we need to learn everything that we can. We should know more about our bodies than our doctor does. We should teach our children from a young age what digestion is. If you put that piece of taffy in your mouth and swallow it, it will go through your intestines into your bloodstream, and it'll pump through their tiny little hearts. And I think that we make better choices when we understand that. And then the vis medicatrix naturae, or that healing power of nature, Carol, that we both love so much, that our bodies have this, as you say, the vital force, all living things, plants, animals, people. And if we honor that vital force and kind of get out of its way, then that's when healing can really happen.
I'm like sort of speechless, because when we took the naturopathic oath, I think unfortunately a lot of people have forgotten those principles. And it's really wonderful for the naturopaths who are listening and the people who are listening to understand the basic principles of natural healing and naturopathic medicine.
They're just beautiful, and they're so wise, and I think that's why, they've been around for almost 200 years now.
Yeah.
And there's just no getting around it. It's kind of, to me, they're like laws. You can argue against gravity, but there it is. You can argue all day against it. These principles really are how to live healthy, how to thrive in your mind, your body, your heart, and I think they're just so beautiful.
I love that. I love the live healthy and thrive. So, Razi, let's talk about how you view to help people see the inroads between traditional Western medicine and naturopathic medicine, like as we've been just speaking about, to help them understand and really incorporate into their daily life that healing is so much more than taking a pill from a bottle, even if that pill is a vitamin.
Yeah. That's a great, that whole trading just from writing a prescription or filling a prescription or going to the drugstore and just taking a supplement. Again, it's still this magical thinking that healing happens from outside of me. Healing does not happen from outside of you. Even if you are taking a pill, it's still happening inside of you, and it's your body, your beliefs, right? Because we know a lot about nocebo and placebo. There are people that have been wrongly diagnosed with a disease that have suffered from those symptoms because our mind is so powerful. And an example that's a little bit raunchy that I like to say is that for people that don't believe how powerful their mind is, think of someone that you're sexually attracted to. What does your body do? Your body responds. So this is something just in your mind, and then your body responds. These are hormones responding, tissue responding. A lesser silly example is if I was to slice open, take a lemon off my tree, slice it open, and squeeze it on your tongue. I mean, many of us right now are probably kind of salivating. Our minds are so powerful. And so this, to me, just illustrates and it helps support the idea that healing happens inside of you. So that might be like, oh my gosh, it's too much responsibility. But really, who else do you want driving your bus? Who else do you want behind the wheel of your life except for you, right? Because other people can always let us down, but the only thing we're in control of is that whether we let ourselves down or not. Now, I have to say, sometimes the naysayers will be like, oh, well, you can eat all this great stuff and still die. Well, it's true. We are still mortal. We are humans, and we will die someday. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't honor the bodies and the lives that we were given and be as comfortable and as alive and as vibrant inside these bodies. I mean, I would rather live to 80 and feel fantastic than be hooked up to, oxygen machine or something at 95. So I think this idea of just taking a pill or just taking a supplement is just wrong thinking. It's magical thinking. It's not reality. It takes more work than that.
Yeah. Well, that's where the topic of the mind-body connection and mind-body perspective on health comes in. How can we help the people who are listening to us shift their perspective around that?
Yeah, so what I think is everyone really knows it. It's whether we choose to ignore it or not. We all know what we should or shouldn't do. Now, are there some details that we need to learn, like people get confused about what to eat, or, there's details that they can get from their naturopathic doctor. But, you know, we know intuitively, because it's our mind, it's our body, it's our heart. We know intuitively that you have to pay attention to both. And so that's where I feel like that self-responsibility kind of comes in. It's kind of just remembering what we already know, that we get too busy or too frustrated or too overwhelmed. It's just easier to just take a pill. It's easier just to say, oh, I can't stop smoking because it helps me with my stress. It's just easy. You have to just be real with yourself. And I think that if you just listen and spend some time inside your body, spend some time not connected to your cell phone, spend some time outside barefoot. We are separated all day long now, many times from the moment we're born. we're shod and wrapped up, and we don't. I think sometimes people think that in order to live a natural lifestyle, you have to your only alternative is to eat bark and be barefoot and live in a yurt. But that's not true. You can just plug in every day. You can go outside in the morning when you wake up instead of going straight to Facebook. You can walk barefoot once in a while and feel the earth beneath your feet and get those powerful antioxidants. We know that the earth's field is a negative charge that our bodies need. It acts the same way as taking, or more powerfully than taking an antioxidant pill. We need sunlight. We need fresh air. We need to drink clean water. And I think that if we just listen to our senses, then we really understand that we are mind and body. I mean, you can't go throughout the day without thinking or feeling an emotion. So it's silly for us to think that we could find health without addressing those areas of our life.
I think that we need a very large budget for advertising on television, because so much of what the majority of people see in advertising, which is where a lot of these inner messages start forming, unfortunately, is one of my favorites is the obese man who's eating this disgusting, greasy, yucky sandwich, and then the Tums commercial comes on.
Oh, yeah.
So the message is unconsciously, it's fine to eat this food, and it's fine if you're overweight and have a huge belly, and it's fine if you get upset stomach, which anybody would, and then you just have to take this pill. Mm-hmm. So there isn't a lot of external advertising support for the principles of natural health and naturopathic medicine.
Yeah, and that's and that's all about dollars and advertising, and that's a big hill to climb, and that's where each person has to make that decision for themselves. And I wish I had a big answer for that big problem, but I think that we have a choice to make, and sometimes people wait until they don't feel great. I mean, that's what happened to me. I was working in a busy career, and I was fueled by coffee, and I would come home at night and eat Ben and Jerry's out of the carton. And
it's hard to imagine you like that.
Well, and I didn't have a weight problem, but I had a health problem, and I didn't know it. And people often think like a friend of mine said, well, my uncle had a heart attack and he was perfectly healthy. Well, you know what? Yeah. Then he wasn't perfectly healthy.
Obviously, he wasn't. Yes.
And when you say about the man, and the taking the pill, we also we put people like that who are unhealthy and have them dance on TV, and then we all think it's really cute. The other thing I have a real issue with is this whole thing of body shaming. I think no one should ever be ashamed, but I don't think anyone ever should be taught that having different sizes and different shapes. Like, I will never be a curvaceous, voluptuous woman. I would love that. I would love to have wonderful curves. That's just not the way I was made. I'm kind of just a skinny person.
Beautiful skinny person, Razi.
Oh, you're sweet. But, we all have our own types of beauty. But what I'm talking about is when people are unhealthy and they're kind of made to feel like that's okay and there's power in that. That makes me sad, because that's disempowering somebody. Someone should never be made ashamed for their healthy body weight or their unhealthy body weight. But for us to, as a culture, because it sells more food, or we're trying to sell a certain size of clothes for our company. I think it's so sad when people, that this idea of, again, self-responsibility is just like, oh, we don't want somebody to feel bad. People should be motivated instead. We should motivate people to feel healthy instead of making them feel like, it's okay. Because a lot of diseases, as you know, Carol, that come from being not at your healthy weight are like heart disease, cancer,
right. Diabetes,
PCOS, and it just makes me sad for women. Again, I don't want any feminists to be mad at me. I'm not saying that you have to be skinny or you have to be a certain size, but really for women, so much of their health depends on making the right food choices and feeling empowered by that. Absolutely. Yeah, mind, body, heart, emotions, it all works together to create health or disease.
So, Razi, what's going on for you with the future, and what are you working on now? I know you're doing your upcoming summit that is important to the community and the world at large.
Yeah, so we're just wrapping up the Heart Revolution. It's theheartrevolution.org, and it's just a collection of people that I really admire that teach us, heart disease kills more people than all forms of cancer combined, but we don't talk about it a lot.
Wow.
So, and these are statistics from the Heart Foundation. So it's not just what we eat, but we know it's also emotions like anger, resentment, grief, past traumas, generational traumas. So we're addressing all that, and just more of what we do at Natural Path. Natural Path is sharing these principles of naturopathic medicine to the greater community. And when I was sick, all I wanted to do, I remember looking at my journals, I just wanted to feel good again. I just wanted to feel good again. So the future for me and the Natural Path is just to continue to feel good and help others feel good again naturally.
And I want to say to all the people who are listening who are really not feeling well, and I talk about this on my website, that you need to find a doctor to work with who has hope and can carry with 100% of their being that, of course, you can get better and feel better and recover your health. That's an extremely important aspect of working with somebody. It's not like, well, we'll get you 30% better or 50% better. I believe that people can restore their health and feel well again.
Absolutely, they can. And this event is really, really important. And I'm just grateful that you're bringing this out to the public, and I'm glad to be part of it.
And I'm grateful that you're doing your Heart Revolution and educating people about the hidden and changeable aspects of heart disease. It's very empowering to learn about that and how lifestyle changes and how they eat and change the oils, exercise can really make a huge impact. And it's also on the emotional level, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. Yeah, mind, body, heart, emotions, it all works together to create health or disease.
Well, that's a wonderful note to end on, Razi. And would you let people know how they can find you, and where are you on social media?
I would love to. Thank you. You can find me at Razi Berry on Facebook, RaziBerry. But most of what I do and how I bring naturopathic doctors to share everything that they know is through the Natural Path. You can find that on Facebook, Natural Path, or on our website, thenatpath.com.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Razi, so much for spending a few minutes of your busy day with us. For everyone that's listening, that's all for now. Stay tuned. Much later, we'll be having many more interviews, and have a wonderful day, people.